Imagine staring down a solid mountain of jagged rock and deciding, we need to cut this in half, not to mine it, not to destroy it, but to hang 35,000 tons of steel right in the middle of the sky. What you are looking at is the site of the most insane engineering mega project happening on Earth right now. To build the ultimate shortcut, engineers in China didn't just conquer a mountain, they literally sliced open the Earth. They are building a bridge so impossibly high you could stack the Empire State Building underneath it, and the antenna wouldn't even scratch the bottom. Why would anyone spend billions of dollars and risk human lives to build a highway suspended in the clouds? And more importantly, how do you even start building something that defies gravity this aggressively? Today, we are going deep into the mountains of Guizhou, China, to uncover the story of the Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge. And trust me, by the end of this, you will look at modern engineering in a completely different way. To understand why they split a mountain, you first have to understand where we are. Welcome to Guizhou. This province in southwest China is often called the Kingdom of Mountains. And that is not an exaggeration. Nearly 93% of Guizhou is covered in mountains and hills. It is breathtakingly beautiful, but historically it has been an absolute nightmare for logistics and human movement. Imagine living in a village on one side of a gorge. You can literally see the town on the other side. It looks like it's only a mile away. But to get there, you have to drive down a treacherous, winding mountain road for 3 or 4 hours, cross a rushing river, and drive all the way back up the other side. For decades, this brutal geography trapped the local economy. You can't export goods, you can't commute, and you can't develop infrastructure if every single road is blocked by a 2,000-foot chasm. So the Chinese government decided to fix the unfixable. Over the last 2 decades, they have turned Guizhou into a massive, real-world laboratory for extreme engineering. Today, nearly half of the 100 highest bridges in the entire world are located in this one single province. But even with all that experience, the Huajiang Grand Canyon presented a terrifying problem they had never faced before. The Huajiang Grand Canyon isn't just deep, it is a natural wind tunnel. The geography here creates violent, unpredictable vortexes of wind that can rip standard structures apart. When engineers decided to build a bridge nearly 3 kilometers long across this gap, sitting at a mind-bending 2,050 feet above the river, they had to find a way to anchor it. A suspension bridge works like a giant game of tug-of-war. The massive cables holding up the road have to be anchored into the earth on both sides. Normally, you pour a massive block of concrete into the ground to hold the tension. But at Huajiang, the ground was entirely wrong. It is what geologists call a karst landscape. It's porous limestone, completely full of hidden caves and sinkholes. It is like trying to bolt a massive steel shelf into a wall made of dry sponge. If they poured concrete normally, the sheer weight of the bridge, combined with a violent windstorm, could literally rip the anchor out of the earth, collapsing the entire megastructure into the canyon below. So, they made a radical decision. Instead of building on top of the mountain, they decided to go inside it. Engineers initiated an unprecedented excavation. They blasted, drilled, and carved out millions of cubic feet of solid rock. They essentially sliced the peak of the mountain in half, hollowing out a cavernous trench deep inside the bedrock. Inside this man-made cavern, they built the anchorages. These aren't just blocks of concrete, they are artificial mountains built inside a real mountain. By burying the anchors deep inside the solid, uneroded bedrock, the bridge literally becomes part of the earth itself. It was the only way to ensure the violent canyon winds wouldn't tear it down. But once the mountain was secured, the real nightmare began, actually building the thing. Imagine trying to thread a needle, but the needle is a mile wide, but you are standing a half mile in the sky. and hurricane-force winds are trying to blow you off the edge. To get the first cables across the massive drop, engineers couldn't use helicopters. The canyon drafts were simply too dangerous. Instead, they brought in heavy-duty drones, fighting through the wind to fly the initial pilot wires across the gap. From there, it was a terrifying, painstaking process of scaling up. They used those thin wires to pull thicker cables, which pulled even thicker cables, until they created a temporary catwalk suspended in the clouds. Over the next several months, massive steel girders, weighing hundreds of tons each, were lifted from the canyon floor below or rolled out from the mountain edges. And here is the craziest part. Every single millimeter of this steel is equipped with smart sensors. Because the bridge is so massive, it actually expands and contracts with the temperature and the wind. This bridge is alive. It breathes, it moves, and the engineers monitor it in real time using an AI-driven network to ensure the steel never fatigues. When the Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge officially opens, it will take the crown as the highest bridge on planet Earth. But beyond the world records, beyond the billions of dollars and the impossible engineering, what does this actually do? Remember that 4-hour, terrifying drive around the canyon? Once this bridge is open, that trip will take 1 minute. 1 minute. This isn't just a bridge. It is an economic lifeline. It connects the remote, landlocked regions of southwest China directly to major trade routes and coastal ports. It transforms isolated, forgotten villages into connected hubs of commerce. By splitting a mountain in half, they didn't just conquer nature. They completely rewrote the future for millions of people living in its shadow. China's obsession with extreme infrastructure is moving at a pace we have never seen in human history, and the Huajiang Bridge is just one piece of a much larger global puzzle. What do you think? Would you be brave enough to drive across a bridge 2,000 feet in the sky? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you love exploring the impossible, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.